Can you tell us a little bit about your dad's company, General Services Incorporated, how it got started and so forth?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having this, giving us this opportunity. We're excited about it. Yes, General Services Incorporated was the name of the was the name of the company. And initially, I think it was started in 1979, I believe is the year that it was started. It was initially, designed to, when it was first formed, it was broad in scope. That's why it was called General Services Incorporated, so that we could provide a number of business-related services. And I'm not sure exactly of the category of businesses that were identified for the Articles of Incorporation and for the business license, but for the state requirements. But I know that it was intended to be broad in scope. My father did I'm not sure how he came up with the idea either, but he did a feasibility study. And the feasibility study was intended to determine whether or not there was a need for armored car services in the area. And what he found out was that we're going to talk about armored car services, and then we'll talk about the other side, which is security guard services. What he found out as far as the armored car services were concerned was that there was a need. There were companies like Brinks and Wells Fargo that were out there, and they were servicing businesses, going and picking up in their armored cars, picking up money and transporting the money to the banks for these businesses like grocery stores and other companies like convenience stores and companies that just had a need that had retail services, had a need, department stores and all that had a need for money to be transported from their offices to the banks, and vice versa. So he did a feasibility study and found that these businesses did need another armored car service in the area. There was the companies that were out there, the big name companies, Brinks and Wells Fargo, for example. They all had a schedule that the companies that they serviced had to fit into. So these organizations, department stores, grocery stores, etc., had to have their money ready by the time that was set by the armored car company. And my father found out that that was an inconvenience for a lot of these companies because they have different business operation requirements, and there were many times when they needed money transported, and it was outside of the window that was set by the armored car companies for transporting their money and picking up and delivering, etc. So instead of my father trying to compete with those organizations, based upon the feasibility study, he was quite wise in his decision to say, okay, I'm going to go to these organizations and say, I know that you're already using an armored car company. We are not trying to replace. That was a brilliant idea. We're not trying to replace who you're using. We're just trying to accommodate you and be of a service to you. Because, and if you have a need for money to be transported to or from your location at a time that is more convenient to you, we are here for that. We can provide that service for you. And that's how he got started in the armored car company business, because he found that those organizations needed that service through that feasibility study. He also, and so that was the armored car side. And the other side of the business is security guard business, and that was started. And lately, you have to. I don't know which was first. I'm not sure. The security business was first. Security guard business was first, or if the armored car business was first.
It was. Yes, it was.
The security business was first, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was the armored car side. The security guard business is how he started off initially, and then he transferred over into the armored car side. The name of the company is General Services Incorporated. However, it was doing business as Banks Security. So that was the organization. And then as far as my brother can tell you more about the security guard side, because I was fairly young when that was started. But the security, he started employees for the company. But between Birmingham, various locations outside of the city of Birmingham, and also in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, we had armored car services in various portions of the state of Alabama as well outside of Birmingham. My brother can tell you also about the fight that my father had, which involved him having to litigate whether or not he should keep his name as bank security because he was ultimately he ended up competing against the other armored car companies. So that's true. But his competition was Brinks. And the similarity between the two names, Banks and Brinks, was a problem because my father had become so popular in the area that Brinks had an issue with it. So they decided that he didn't have a right to have the company's name after, Banks, because it was too close to theirs and it was taking some of their business. And so they went to court, and at the lower level, at the state level, lower court level, they prevailed. And my father actually appealed to the Supreme Court of Alabama, and the Supreme Court of Alabama reversed the decision and said my father had a right to keep his name and operate his company under his name, and he prevailed at the Supreme Court level. It's unfortunate that he had to have to go that far, but he did prevail. Another interesting story regarding him and his business is that he had done so well in the company until there were a couple of white companies that had, one in particular, I do not know which one it was, that had come into, had researched banks security and wanted to meet with my father. And so they came into my father had a beautiful office up in Norwood, and it's a sort of it had, I don't want to say it, other way to say it looked like an antebellum home. It was a beautiful home with columns up in the Norwood area. Mm-hmm. And they came in there, and he had these beautiful wooden sliding doors into his office, and he was not in his office. He was in another part of the building when they came. So his assistant had them to come in to ask to speak with Mr. Banks. They sat down in his beautiful office, and when he came in, he came into his office, and they said, "Well, we're waiting to see Mr. Banks." And he said, he said, "I'm Mr. Banks." And they told him, they stood up, and they told him, we can't accept this. So you mean to tell me that a black man will be transporting money from one place to another? And they walked out. So my father, despite that, was in business, despite having to fight those types of battles, I should say, was in business and did, and really did well, and ultimately ended up over there from 1210 in Norwood, moved over into that place on Golf Crest Circle, and for 22, let's see.
Go out, please.
No.
You said Go Wild Place?
22 years, something like that. I think that's right. Or how long was he over there lately? I can't remember. The business was in business from 79 to 94.
98. 98.
98? Okay, 98. Okay, 98. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good long time for him to have been doing what he did in the midst of the culture that was he had to battle against as the only African American security guard and armored car company owner. He may not have been the only African American security guard company, but he was the only African American owned armored car company in the United States, and probably still is, and to this day was the only one. It had his trouble with employees and issues just like every other company, and nobody is perfect, no business is perfect, but I can say that I am extremely proud of him. My mother ultimately retired from her employment, and she joined the company as well in 1993. 92. No, wait a minute, that's not right, because she passed in 91. So it was earlier than that. It was like 89, I think it was. and she ended up at his side working with him on the accounting side. So she was helping him until she became ill. She was at his side, supporting him and helping him from the business side, doing the accounting piece for the company as well.
Well, that is a beautiful story.